Okay, so I did a quick little check to check my logic here, and I was correct. Okay, so when we're looking at negative and positive numbers, even when we're looking at multiplication and division, a helpful way when you're solving algebra equations, which I sometimes do, but it's been a while, is think of, instead of thinking of this as Sx minus Sx0, you can think of it as like a combination of plus Sx combined with, I guess I shouldn't write it that way because that implies multiplication. You can think of it as like a, here, I'm going to use brackets. Yeah. Well, I guess that still looks like multiplication. Whatever. You can think of it like this, right? Or don't think of it as this minus that. Think of it as, oh, it's just a positive number and then it's sitting next to this negative number and you are combining them. And when I say combining, don't think of it like addition. Think of it as you're combining these two together. So, right, because now when we think about these signs and we think of it as combining, you can combine, when you combine, you can do it in any order, right? Like you can do this, right? Right? And if we look at that with some concrete numbers, I was just doing a little test over here, right? So, let's say 1 minus 5, right? You can't, if you just flip that, right, it's not quite the same, right? Because, right, so we get like the negative 4. And then we get our 4 here like that, right? But if we think of it as combining, and we just do this, right? You can do that in any order, right? Okay, you just take the negative 5 over here, put the negative what, right? So negative 5 combined with a positive 1, right? That's going to make it closer to 0, so then you get your 4, right? Your negative 1 combined with the negative 5, same thing, right? Right? You see what I mean? Like when you think of it in combining terms, you don't have to get stuck about like, oh no, we gotta like I don't know, it just makes it easier. I'm not a math person, so forgive me. Anyway, so we're just gonna split that apart and we're just gonna write it like that. I'm gonna duplicate this. And now this is the one we want to solve for, correct? Sx0, yeah. So let's take that and we'll keep it on that side, but now we can take this and we know that we have to do the same thing on both sides. So just to get rid of this, we need to subtract it out. So we can flip that to negative and we can cut it out and then we can just paste it there, right? We want to preserve the order a bit so we could do that like that. Okay, so now we got some formulas. We got some good stuff going. So now the question is, did I do that correctly, or am I just crazy and this is complete bullshit? Well, rather than checking our math, we can just, start writing that code and see if things look correct, right? So I don't know if it was obvious or not, but we are going to use this same formula for x and y, right? So we're just going to paste that and, oh crap, wait, is that equal to negative Sx0 and we got to flip everything? Yes, it is. Sx0, because we got this. Yeah, because this was a negative Sx0. This was positive. This was negative, and I just kind of swapped their order. So to make that more clear, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that. Wait, hold on. And then we subtract. That's subtracted. That's negative. Okay, so we do have to flip it because the result is negative. So we'll do a 0 minus, and then the SX0. Okay. And is everything balanced? That looks good. Okay, so then we'll just do the same thing with Y's. And then we'll just double click and make sure that anything we highlight does not highlight the line above it. Okay, so we've changed everything correctly. So we got our SX, we got our SY. And this right here, ESA, is where we want to sample from, right? Because it's the source, which is also, coincidentally, S can also be for samples, so that's kind of nice. Okay, so outside of this loop, I want to just create an array, RGB equals 0, 0, 0, 0. Actually, it doesn't matter. Like, if we want to make, right, because it's RGBA, and then we're going to have the canvas mapper dot get pics. Did I make that a lowercase or a capital? So usually I like to make public functions have a capital letter. Also, if it's not capital and it's only one word, you can't really tell if it's camel case or not, you know? Whereas, if it's like this, you can still tell it's camel case, you know? So I kind of like to do first word of my functions, I like to keep capitalized, but I'm not sure I did that in the code, so let's check that out. Okay, so I did do that in the code. So for my public function, I have a capital. Okay, so back to here. We're going to use SX0, SY0, and then the RGB, which is the output parameter. And then we're going to do the same thing, canvas adapter dot put pics, and then dx0, dy0, and then did I really do that? I don't think I did. I think the put pixel takes a slightly different format, doesn't it? It takes like each parameter. So put pics, yeah, it takes them as separate components. So that is inconsistent, because that means I got to unpack everything. So that would be in need of some refactoring, you know, because to like, we're gonna just write it as it needs to be written for now. But really, it would be nice if it also takes like you know, just a RGB instead of having to like unpack like this, because the get and put functions should be as complementary as possible, and these two function calls are not completely complementary, right? If this get pics takes 3 parameters, it would be more complementary if the put pics also takes 3 parameters, you know? Whatever. So R, G, B, and then A. We'll deal with that later. Okay. So, and we screwed something up. Because SX0 is already something. So I believe in my hubris of being so terse, I have Oh, crap. Dx, dy. Where's my sx and sy? Ah, it's right there! That's what I was trying to solve. Well, this is why this is code told slow and not code told fast, because it's unscripted and I'm screwing up everywhere. Okay. Scrap it. Just scrap it. Scrap that shit. Okay. Let's reevaluate our life. Let's see. The destination. Okay, so we have the current position. Okay, we're going to zero it out. That looks good. Okay, we have our left and right bounds. We're going to start with the higher number, and we're going to subtract the lower number, and this basically gets the length. The length or the range, right? And then this is a value somewhere on that range. So that creates a fraction, right? If you're 0, let's say if this is 100 pixels long, 0 over 100, 0%. If you're all the way along to the extreme edge, the extreme bound, like the other side, then this would be like 100 out of 100. So okay, that looks good. Do these SX, S, DS, DS, okay. Okay, so these formulas look correct. And why... Okay, these are the percentages. Oh, got you. So these values will never actually exist in our formulas because those are the percentages. Percentages dpx and dpy, spy. Okay, so this is just our formula for reference. Now let's solve our equation again. And same thing as last time, we're gonna kind of like condense this a little bit. And then we're going to set it equal to over here. I can't believe I'm doing this twice. Okay. And let's be really clear, what are we solving for? We're solving for this SX right here. This is the thing we're solving for. I'm just going to, before I screw this up again, I'm going to just make a little... Just gonna like make some like arrows. This is the thing I'm solving for. So I don't screw this up again. Okay, so we're gonna duplicate the line, and pretty easy stuff, right? We're just gonna take this and we're gonna multiply on both sides. All right, and then get that to line up. Okay, and here's the thing we're solving for, which is right there. And all that confusion I had earlier, I didn't even need it, because the thing I need to take off is right there. Which I solved this on paper before, and didn't have any trouble, so... I don't know, sometimes... it's just a bit more clumsy sometimes when you're trying to like solve algebra in source code like this. So we know we're going to add this. So we're going to take that over there, and we are going to put parentheses everywhere. Parentheses everywhere. Yay, all right. And then we know that we're going to add that. Okay, so SX, that is the thing we're solving for. So now we can just take this, and we can say S... and then we can duplicate it for the y. I'm like so close. So I just gotta... Okay. And we're just gonna double click really quick. Make sure we don't see the top line highlighting to make sure we transcribed everything. Okay. So that looks good. SX, XY. There's an RGB color there. And RGB defined up there. Then we're going to put the values in there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Is there anything I am missing? Yes, there is. And I thought, why is that not? Oh, whatever. Okay, so outside of here, dot apply, like that. We want to apply the changes. If we don't do apply, we won't see it, right? Because this is, the reason it's done this way is just an optimization. Otherwise, it'll be like, it'll take a minute to update the canvas if we don't, if we like had this apply call every single time we put a pixel, it would take like a minute to update the canvas. No joke. So you need to apply after you've made all the changes. Let's make sure I have the case correct. Like I said, I like my public functions to have a capital first letter, which that does, so that looks good. Dx, dy. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I guess I'm ready to take this for a run and just hope that it works, because I am tired of this. Like I'm ready to be done. Did I close? No, I didn't. Okay, there you are. Okay, let's refresh. Yeah, and we ain't got nothing. Okay, so let's take a look. Rec SRC is not defined. Okay. That's fine. In dest, yeah. Okay, so yeah. Makes sense. So let's go back to here. We did not define the two variables dst. The destination, which one was that in my diagram? I have it in my diagram. So I'm going to put some breakpoints here so I can get back to them later, because I know my diagram is somewhere in here, right? Okay, yeah, so that's what I thought. So our destination is going to be viewport number 0, and then number 3. We're going to start out sampling from the biggest one, why not? So sample from 3 and then into 0. So let's sampling from 3 into 0. So that equals rec pack dot into 0, so vp0, and then the oh sorry, into, so the into is and rec pack dot rec dot vp3. Okay, so we're sampling from that big viewport, and then we're going to put it into that small viewport vp0. Source dest. Okay, I think, okay, let's give it another run. So going back here and look at that code and refresh, and no dice. Okay, let's take a look. Y is not. Oh, yeah, so while I was refactoring that loop, I did not change this. So let's dx dy, okay. And now let's take another go at this. Getting real sick of this. No problems, but no dice either. Man, I'm tired of this. So there could be a lot of reasons this is not working. We never even tested out our put pixel stuff, so we don't even know if putpix works. So that's a problem. What would be the quickest way to test some stuff out here. What we could do, okay, so we know what canvas we're going over. So let's get, oh no, it's the get pics that we didn't test out. But let's have a little sanity check here though. So the, DX, oh, yeah. Never mind, I don't need a sanity check. DX and DY like that. Yeah, so it would have only set 1 pixel. Okay, so let's try that again. And look at that, and we're gonna refresh. Okay, not quite right. But I see kind of like this speckled pattern. I'm going to take a guess and say that it might be because the pixels are at integer locations, and when I do this SX, SY math, I'm getting, when I'm doing this SX, SY math, I am going to end up with like floating point values, and those are probably going to do like some really weird shit in my equations that are integer math. So it's just a guess. I mean, it's not quite a guess. Like, what I'm doing is correct. The guess part is if it's gonna fix all of our problems or just one of our problems. So let's do we want to just rename? No, let's just say sx equals math dot floor sx, right? We just want, when we're sampling, we want to sample from a whole number or an integer, right? So sx, sy. Okay, so now that we have that, let's take another look at our code and see what we have. I bet we're going to get some better results. Awesome! We're done! We are fucking done. Okay, well, we're not quite done, right? Because we've gone from a we're sampling from a larger rectangle, and then we're putting that into a smaller rectangle, but we still want to do it in the other order, right? So let's do that. So, you know, it shouldn't be too hard, right? So let's go back to our code, and for our do mapping call right here, what we're going to do is we're going to sample from a different rectangle. So in the comments right here, I'm going to say like VP1, VP2, VP3. And actually more like a or symbol, right? So it's just, I'm just going to say what the choices are in the comment. And instead of VP3, we're going to use VP2, which is one of those small viewports. And then let's go back to the screen and let's refresh. Okay, so that's kind of what I expected, all right? Because there's less resolution in this. I'm not sure if it's this small one or this small one, right? But it's one of the small viewports, right? There's less resolution and we're upscaling it. So we're getting like this pixelation. But that's exactly what I expected. All the colors are on the right sides. So we are done solving the problem. The next part I need to do is I'm gonna like clean up the code a bit. I'm probably gonna refactor some things, which I don't really think you need to watch. But I'm trying to like record everything I'm doing. Just for the sake of recording it. So I eventually do want to put this on Stack Overflow as an answer to a question. So I guess we're done here. The next video, I'm just going to clean up the code a bit and refactor some things that I don't like. For example, this put pics command and this get pics command. The put pics, I would really like Oh, sorry, you can't see that. This putpix command, I would really like this to be one parameter rather than expanded like that. I think that's really annoying. And now that we've solved the problem, right, and the code actually works, we can start, tweaking things and fixing things. So that's what I'm going to do in the next video. And then once everything looks nice and I'm like happy with it, I'm going to like post all this code on Stack Overflow as an answer to someone's question. Obviously other people have answered, but my goal is to give people like an answer that has working code that they can actually fiddle with. Because for me, I don't really understand math equations, but I understand programming equations, if that makes sense. All right. See you in the next video.